Reed. I'm an engineering technologist at Environmental Utilities.
Sean Champagne, I'm a planning superintendent.
John Popoff, I'm the Director of Development Services.
Assistant Manager of Planning.
And Bullock, City Solicitor.
Sandeep Parikh, Manager of Engineering, Municipal Works. Jamie Garland, Director of Environmental Utilities.
Joe Hunter, Interim Senior. Logan Boyd, Airport Manager.
Patrick Bowen, the Managing Director of Development and Infrastructure.
Bell, Executive Assistant and Development and Infrastructure.
And I'm Chair of DNI Yusuf Mohammed, and we have Councillor Faf and Councillor Renish, which all of you know. So, well, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll jump right into Managing Director's service area updates.
Thank you, Chair Mohammed. The first, I'll start with environmental utilities. Our capital projects are planning is well underway. Our EU team has been preparing tender packages. The Kipling Street transmission main twinning is the only major project that we have going this year. And I'm very pleased to let you know that the project, the initial concept around the project was to do an identical twinning of the existing concrete lines. And we've made some changes, and we're taking advantage of some new technologies that, while they've been around for a while, we are starting our doing this new technology for the first time in our water service pipes. So we're also hoping to put into production an abandoned line that was abandoned a number of years ago. So we're going to be able to optimize existing infrastructure that and use that infrastructure with this lining process that we're going to go through. So we hope to save some money, and we hope to reduce disruption for the community as well, while still giving us the dedicated secondary water service line. So we're quite excited about taking that forward. We've been taking a new lease. The Development Infrastructure Group has been working really hard at working collaboratively with other departments. We've always shown we worked closely, but we're actually taking that to the next step. So we're working very closely with our folks in the gas and electric division, as well as our municipal works group, just to make sure that we're reducing cost where possible and reducing disruption to the public. So we don't want to go and replace water pipes in 1 year and the next year replace our gas and electric infrastructure. So we're spending a lot more time collectively putting together those plans. We are also actively, so if folks listening here are getting called by our environmental utilities group, we're going through a process of replacing our water meters. The advanced metering infrastructure we put in 10 to 12 years ago, the batteries are starting to age out. So we're replacing those meters now so that we have continued service. Over in Municipal Works Group, as Council knows, and committee knows, we've paused the development of the transportation master plan, safety strategies, and the active transportation strategy until Q4 of 2026. And we're going to continue to really hone our skills for 3rd Street North. We're going to go out to the public and really gather what it is they need and how we can balance the needs of the community with the safety requirements that we need to put in place. So we're pleased to be making progress on that. We do have a final phase of our Division Avenue South project. Essentially, it's a multi-use trail that's going to connect through Kincooley Park to the College Avenue line, so our multi-use trail. So that's going to connect. We'll wrap up that project. We do have our stormwater infrastructure projects and transportation projects in the design phase right now. And we are entering into a second phase of public engagement for the 16th Street Southwest and 8th Avenue Southwest rehabilitation. So that's in the Industrial Southwest Park. So we're going to go back to the community there, the commercial community, with our to gather additional feedback to make sure that folks are feeling heard. And before we go to detailed design, we want to make sure we get all that input as much as possible anyway, before we go to our final design phase. We are contemplating the construction in 27 to 28. So we'll be bringing forward a budget request as part of our 27-28 budget consideration. I think everyone's well aware by now that WestJet's made a business decision announcing they will end service to the community after their last flight on June 24th. The city's quite disappointed with this decision. It will definitely have an impact on our community, our residents, and our region. And we are working very diligently at trying to find a replacement air carrier. And with your permission, Chair Mohammed, I'll ask Manager Boyd to speak to that.
Do you want to speak, have him to speak to that now or when we come to the airport?
We can do it at the airport discussion.
Is that-
Yeah, no, that's actually a good catch. We'll do
Thank
that
you.
again. So great. So with that, in our planning and development service area, we have instituted a hard copy response survey questionnaire. Essentially at the front counter, we're going to be asking folks what their experience was like. So the happy face, sad face, neutral face sort of survey. We want to really find out to address maybe some of the public concerns and really determine what the real issues are. So we're going to be going through that here right away. We started about a month ago. We've had a couple of responses, but we're looking for more as the summer season progresses. We are developing our quality management plan. This is an update to mandated required planning document from the Safety Codes Act. And it's basically an opportunity for us to put in place metrics that we can performance review and manage how it is we're doing on our safety codes. And that's something that we hear a lot from that area from developers is our plumbing, building, and electrical inspectors. So we want to make sure we get that right. And of course, we'll be talking in a few moments about urban hands. That's one of the areas of concern and of interest of the community. Director Popoff, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this time, unless you'd like me to introduce the Urban Hands.
No, we'll wait for that next item. So we've got another item. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? I guess I have one. I just don't want to be the one talking about that. I guess you talked about, the transportation master plan, which is something that we know the public is quite concerned about. And I know we've had different conversations with council on that. Thank you for listening to community on that too as well. Is there any, can you maybe explain a little bit what to expect between now until when you bring it back into the conversation?
Yeah, I'm going to hand that over in a moment to Acting Director Parikh, but I just wanted to let you know that we hope to take an amended version of or an updated version of our conceptual drawings to the public very, very shortly. I know council was very pleased to see how many changes we made as a result of listening to the public. But with that, I know Acting Director Parikh is recently back to the office. So if you can provide us with an update of where we're at and what the next steps are.
Yeah, so what we heard a lot about was we want to build trust in the community regarding the decisions we're making for the transportation infrastructure. So what we thought was we would first try to build trust in how we are making decisions. And that's where the Third Street project was put forward of the transportation master plan and sort of, work on that and sort of, develop the design in showing and demonstrating that we have been listening and how that is going to, that engagement process will lead to the development of the design. Once that is kind of, in play, I mean, that building trust will be the key focus of that. And then that will, again, we'll try to engage with public. There's like other engagement sessions we are talking about, including survey, but we want to first focus on the Third Street project and sort of go to that trust building and then sort of use that as a stepping stone towards, the TMP and sort of build that survey and sort of see additional engagement as required.
Thank you. Any other questions, Council? Okay, thank you for that update. Yeah, if you're, then we can move to
Sure.
Desert Bloom and Heron Crossing multi-use trail.
Thank you, Chair Mohammed. So at September 15th, 2025, City Council meeting, Council directed administration to proceed with the preliminary design of the multi-use trail between Desert Bloom and Heron Crossing to a maximum cost of $70,000 to be funded out of operating reserves. And this action was to be completed by the end of Q1 2026. In order to fulfill that resolution, we require a budget amendment of $14,000. We provided committee and ultimately council with an alternative motion and the budget amendment form. So we've given council basically and committee, basically we're ready, we're able, we can do whatever council directs us to do. Our recommended motion is for council to consider rescinding the September 15th motion. And the reason for that is explained in the briefing note, but it's essentially by rescinding the motion, the intent is to prioritize other projects that are in a higher priority on the active transportation list. So in your package, there's a list of projects that would basically be it's a prioritized list of projects. This particular project is on our list, and it's an area that we're concerned about serving. It's listed as priority, I believe, 77, right? So again, it's entirely up to the council and committee to make decision and make recommendation or direct us, and we're prepared to do whatever council us to do.
Okay. Question. Go ahead. Councilor Pfaff.
If it's number 77, why are we talking about it?
This was a direction of council.
Oh, okay, just correctly. Okay.
So I've heard a little bit about this project. So I guess and I think it was at one point we were having a conversation on it. I guess, yeah, same question I had, it is a direction of council. And I guess we just, we just got into this and we're looking at what had happened. Just the same thing as the urban hands, right? So it's suggesting that there are citizens that are definitely concerned. I kind of took a look at it a little bit. It's one of those areas of county that does not have any, what do you call it, sidewalks. So there's a population that is living there. I do have concerns that sometimes, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like that idea of fairness of how we develop community regardless. So this is not something that I think we have to be cautious as to how quick we rescind the motion. I know we did give directives to pause existing motion, but at the same time, the public have been engaging with this and we just gotten, and my caution is we want to take a look at this very closely so that we're not just a council that comes in at the expense of public concerns, just go, no, stop this. So I would, my recommendation is that we take a look at this as a council because the motion is already gone. The public is aware of this motion, I believe. We just need to take a look at it a little bit more than just bring it right away and cap it. Does that make sense? I don't know if you guys have any other questions. That's only 2 cents.
No.
Okay, so I don't know, city manager, if you have any comments on this, right?
Yes, thank you through the chair. So just so I understand, is the thought then to defer it to allow you guys more time to consider, or do we bring it back to council perhaps and closed as a discussion, or because if we bring it back as is, we are requesting a decision and it doesn't sound like you guys are ready to.
I think I would say let's defer it so that we as a committee even have a way to wrap our heads around it, just because this is something that's pertaining to our committee. And that's a comment moving forward too. I think just anything that has to do with development and infrastructure, this committee would like to actually take a look at it before it goes to council, because I mean, the council is relying on us to do our due diligence of thinking about the problems before we go here, go. So I would just recommend not just this project, but any other project. This committee would appreciate if it actually comes here and deliberated here. And we are talking as a council how we move forward with projects that comes to committee, so that it's not something we just put on all of council. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, yeah, Councilor Renish.
Through the chair, was it the 77th most necessary project when it was presented? And if so, why did council, if you can recall, why did the last council present this, or how did it get this far?
It was council's desire for us to evaluate this. The last motion in September was directing us to do preliminary design and come back through committee with a preliminary design. After the September direction, we went to our local consultant, and the consultant said, you're short this project to do that preliminary design is going to be $14,000 more than what you've budgeted. So we're coming back. We could, if committee gives us direction to go forward with a budget amendment, we can amend the recommendation to actually come back with a budget amendment, $14,000 to take out of reserves. So that was what the direction of council was.
So would it have been the 77th project, the 77th rated project at the time of that council as well?
Yes.
Okay, so it hasn't gone up. It's just
No.
That's the fact.
Of that design money that you're talking about, have we spent any yet? Well, the 77 still, okay.
Okay, so I would say let's bring it back to, let's put it on the next committee meeting. That would give us time to actually even talk and take a look at it, and then
Sure. May I
make this.
Chair Mohammed, we do have a directive from council to return before the end of Q1 with this for this item. So would probably recommend that committee, someone on committee make a motion to council to pause that requirement pending a review by committee.
So the requirement to bring it for the end of Q1.
Administration was required to bring back this to be completed by the end of Q1 2026.
So,
That'd be fine.
okay, so we make the motion here.
Ultimately, this direction's from council.
Yeah.
It's got to be,
It's gonna be in
would
next.
be,
Yeah, in
yeah,
the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have to add it to the agenda, I guess. That's, yeah. So let's add that to the agenda, and then we can comment. Or any one of us can comment on it. That's kind of what you have a different.
Well, I was just thinking, unless we just talk about it. Like, doesn't have to go through DNI again. Could we just talk about that?
There.
And like tomorrow, for example.
Yep.
And then it could still come back to council at the next meeting if we decide. Does that make sense? Or is that too weird? I don't know.
Because this is a council direction, so it has to, yeah, the way I understand it, it has to really come back to council to pause it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
let's just do it that way.
Okay.
And then we would just be responsible for letting council know in that meeting that that's what we're thinking with all the projects, because we are gonna have a lot of projects that come to this committee that, again, and like I said, my caution is the public knows about it, and we want to make sure we do our due diligence in making sure that we're not, just overriding relevant decisions. And we want to make sure we do that by paying attention to what is it that the other council committed to the public, and why are we pausing it? And If it makes sense, it makes sense, but we have to have the why. So that's, I think, the intention of this council. We're not trying to just, you know, just kind of dismiss any idea for the sake of doing it. We just want to make sure that we're responsible. So, yeah, so we'll bring it to council and then we'll have the discussion there, whether we're gonna pause it from there. City manager.
Thank you through the chair. Just so we're clear, is this just a matter of requiring more time, or is there some particular information that would be helpful for you guys to arrive at a decision?
I think in my mind, it's a matter of requiring more time. And if it's a motion that is outstanding, then the other council members have the time to actually take a look at it, because like I said, it is something that the public is aware, they care about it. I looked at the area. There are no trails in that area. It's so again, if I live in that community, those are going to be my concerns. The families there in those communities, that, all of those. So it's, again, one of those things whereby it might not be a priority, but why is it not a priority? We haven't wrapped our head around that. It's something that we saw based on the council's decision. So time to review, to think, then make a decision.
Sorry, Chair Mohammed, just
Director Roy.
just thinking through this process through is this could proceed to a regular, this item could proceed to a regular council meeting and then for debate, and council could then debate the merits of the item at council, as opposed to coming up with a motion to a presupposed motion on it now, or council could debate it as a whole, right?
If they're ready, I think this is why, and I'm saying out there, we as a council decide to pause all existing motion, right? At the same time, we and this is just my thought around this. I'm cautious of all of a sudden dumping a debate on council without proper time to think about it. I'm cognizant of, again, community has been told that this is what's going to happen. So again, for us to do our due diligence is we just want to make sure that as we pause all existing motion, we're also giving ourselves time to think about it and make sure that we're not just overriding things. Because, yeah, so, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. So the way I see it right now is that it's going to go to council with the idea that we are recommending that we have more time to review on this. And then if council goes, okay, they have time, it can come in the next meeting too, but so that you're not, dismissing your deadline of end of Q1. So I think right now that's the problem. So if we can help take that pressure off of your list, then we will do it in the next council meeting. Manager.
Thank you.
The city manager.
The chair, and just to make it clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but you would reference that the community might be expecting this. From what I understand, it's just the preliminary design funding that's been approved. This isn't an approved capital project. So while they might be anticipating design, they're not necessarily anticipating the construction because that hasn't been approved through council. So
absolutely.
Yeah, just making that clear.
Okay, thank you. All right. We'll move on to the next item.
Thank you. Yes.
Urban Hands.
Yes, Urban Hands. I'd like to introduce our team here today. We've got a couple of folks that are prepared to speak to this item. We've got Director Popoff, Superintendent Champagne, and we have Solicitor Bullock here as well to help. So with your permission, Chair Mohammed, I'm going to pass it over to Director Popoff.
Thank you, Managing Director Bohan. Last fall, in response to a resident inquiry about and a resident request to allow urban hens in the city of Medicine Hat, previous council passed a motion directing administration to bring back a bylaw that would allow urban hens to exist within the municipality. Due to the election and scheduling of council meetings, we really only had an opportunity here to begin working on this matter in the new year. Once we started working on this matter, we realized that other municipalities build programs to manage urban hens, including matters such as bylaw enforcement, application fees, and other parameters. So we've got a report for you, and in it we have a recommendation for a comprehensive bylaw, which includes community feedback and best practices. And then we've got alternatives, and alternative 1 and 2 would meet the intent of the motion. And alternative 1, the difference between that and alternative 2 is that the first alternative was prepared by our legal staff, and it does provide some basic parameters for the management of urban hens within the municipality. Alternative 2 would simply deregulate urban hens, which are currently not allowed within the municipality, and simply allow them to occur. And our third alternative would be not to proceed with this exercise at all. So we're trying to take a neutral approach here, but our recommendation is if mayor and council want to proceed, we believe that there should be a fulsome process undertaken, including feedback from the public, so that and our analysis and best practices research can inform the bylaw and the implementation exercise. And also provide council with the fulsome costs estimated in terms of how much that program could cost. I'd like to offer a presentation that was given to the admin committee by Sean Champagne. He can provide a bit of background if that's acceptable to the chair and the committee. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. How many minutes is it? Sorry.
I've got 13 slides, but I can speak very quickly. I'll try to be really as brief as I possibly can.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So in this presentation, I want to share just a little bit of historical background on this topic, the direction that was provided by our previous council, and a summary of the research that I've conducted to date that could help shed a little light on this topic. So urban hens, this isn't anything new in Medicine Hat. So it's come to our city council in 2014 and 2015. Research was conducted and a proposed pilot bylaw was brought forward, and that bylaw was defeated in 2015. The topic resurfaced again in 2022 when a motion directing staff to investigate options for urban hens was also defeated yet again. And then most recently in September 2025, a presentation was made by our city council by an advocate for urban hens. And following that, council passed a motion directing administration to bring back some amendments to relevant bylaws to permit urban hens. So the spirit of that presentation was one to deregulate the matter of urban hens. So to simply amend the definition of livestock in our responsible animal ownership bylaw to essentially allow urban hens by default, by omission. So as it stands, chickens are classified as livestock in the land use bylaw, the responsible animal ownership bylaw, and the parks bylaw. The land use bylaw prohibits the keeping of livestock in residential districts unless it's allowed by another bylaw. The responsible animal ownership bylaw also prohibits livestock, and the parks bylaw simply prohibits livestock in our parks. So I don't think that's what we're talking about today. So won't spend too much time on that. This slide here shows at a glance which municipalities in Alberta allow urban hens and which prohibit urban hens. There are some small differences between how hens are regulated in the municipalities that do allow, but there are many more similarities than there are differences, and I'll get into that here with a quick summary. So among the municipalities that do allow urban hens, none regulated through their land use bylaw. So they're all enforced either through a responsible animal ownership bylaw, so through an amendment to that bylaw, or an entirely separate urban hen bylaw. Like I said, there are more similarities than there are differences. All require a license, with most requiring annual renewals. This ensures continued compliance, and it allows enforcement officers to verify compliance. Flock size limits range between 2 and 6 hens, with most around 4. The reason it starts at 2 is that hens are a highly social flock bird, and so they require companionship. And so you can't just keep a single bird. Provincial registration is mandatory throughout the province. So that is to address disease control, for example, like avian influenza, for example. Training is universally required because improper coop construction, poor hygiene, inadequate ventilation can create problems for both neighbors and the birds themselves. Neighbor consent is also a consistent requirement. Many recognizing that the impacts of urban hens can extend past the property line. So either neighbor notification or receiving neighbor consent before being able to raise urban hens. Most municipalities will regulate the size and placement of the coop, and enforcement is universally undertaken by law enforcement officers. So the same group that enforces, other animal control measures. The results demonstrate how urban hens are generally administered, and it also underscores the scale of such a program. So what I've done on this slide is highlight just preliminarily which departments will likely be involved and in which capacity. So planning and development services departments generally don't regulate the birds themselves or regulate the project itself or administer it themselves, but we're sort of coordinating this project amongst the other departments we've listed here. So generally there is public engagement that takes place before enacting such regulations. So that could be led by a corporate communications department. By law enforcement, again, is responsible for inspections and complaints and license management. Our city solicitor would be responsible for either drafting new bylaws or responsible animal ownership bylaw in partnership with whatever department is responsible for this. The Parks and Recreation Department is responsible for our impound. So they would be responsible for taking on any birds that are surrendered or at large. And our finance department could share any information they could in terms of resources and budget analysis that would be required to administer such a program. So one of the clearest messages that we've heard resoundingly from our residents is that they expect to be involved in decisions that affect the welfare of their neighborhood, especially in matters related to nuisance, public health, and community characters. These discussions can be very polarizing, as was proven from the research that I conducted from other municipalities. So robust engagement is critical before implementing something like this. It's one of the reasons for which the city of Lethbridge does not allow the raising of urban hens, because they undertook a public engagement survey and there was very little support in that community for such a program. So on to the recommendations. I just want to be clear that this isn't necessarily a recommendation that we adopt an urban hen program. We just want to be clear. We want to first establish if this council were to identify this as a priority, this would be our recommended course of action moving forward. So to prepare a comprehensive bylaw for the regulation of urban hens, based on best practices and community feedback, prepare a report, including the anticipated costs and staff resources to implement the program, and present a bylaw and a report to council for consideration as recommended by our administrative committee. We do have some alternative options as well. Alternative option one would be to have council direct administration to allow the keeping of urban hens in Medicine Hat by completing a review of an attached amendment to the responsible animal ownership bylaw. Under this option, there would be no public or stakeholder engagement, and the bylaw amendment will be expedited for city council's review and adoption. So we do have a first draft of that document, but it's not finalized at this point, and it would require some more refinement. Otherwise, the second alternative option, so this is the option that was the theme of the presentation that was made to City Council to deregulate the matter. So I've shown here how the definition of livestock would change under that. In the current definition, livestock means one of the following: an animal of the avian species, including a chicken, and that could be amended to state that it would be an animal of the avian species, including a turkey, duck, goose, or pheasant, but not include a hen. So under this option, urban hens would be permitted by omission. There are no administrative implications or enforcement mechanisms to implement because there are no rules. It's completely deregulated. So it's a bit of a free-for-all. There are no other municipalities in Alberta that do allow urban hens in this matter, but it's here as an option. And then finally, there is always the option that council rescind the motion, that administration bring back amendments to the necessary bylaws to permit urban hens in Medicine Hat. This motion that was made by our council in September of 2025. So that concludes my presentation. The research has been completed. I've done a preliminary identification of which city departments would participate in such a program, and I've shared some multiple options. Council's consideration.
Great, thank you very much. That was pretty quick. I appreciate it. You did a good job. Thank you for all your hard work. Looks like, you guys really, went to work for this. Really appreciate all the time that you put into this.
Thank you.
And all the options. I think it shows your due diligence in bringing back what you've been asked to do. So please send a huge thanks to your team for doing that. Council, any questions coming from? Please.
So you had mentioned a few different options. With the recommended one that you're suggesting, basically that you guys would go back and prepare a comprehensive bylaw and prepare and report anticipated costs and staff resources for implementation. So not talking about implementation, but just the work it would require to finish what's on that slide. Like how much more work is it to prepare the bylaw? At like really rough estimate.
Well, we need, when I say we believe that we could get it to you in Q2, there would be the need for public feedback. We'd speak with our communications department about what that would look like, and we'd look at the other programs. So basic feedback could be a survey. Our communication staff may say that the other jurisdictions have gone to more extensive efforts, perhaps those open houses. We'd have to determine that, but there would be definitely work involved there. And then we'd begin drafting the parameters of the bylaw, and then it would be given to our legal department, which would need some lead time to take that and to make sure that it complies with all the legislation and works. We can obviously provide draft language and basic information for them, but there would be that step as well. So it would not be something that could get done, let's say in a week or two. I'd say within 2 months, probably we could get something before council, maybe at the latest by the end of Q2. But it would be a significant effort. And if there is significant public feedback, that could take us back to the drawing table or require extensions. And that often happens, especially when you get issues that may be polarizing or maybe controversial in a community. It does extend the timelines, and then we'd be requesting that we require more consultation or more time. That's a risk to the project. We don't know yet. We haven't done a deep dive in terms of planning the project out. We've done preliminary research. We have some idea of what needs to occur. We know what other jurisdictions went through, and the work that they did was extensive.
Questions? So how do you suggest we move from here?
Well, good question.
Back to you guys.
I guess my question would be the administration would ideally want this directed to council, say at the next open meeting, and do the recommended motion, essentially. That would be the ideal situation. Okay.
But council has not seen, some of us have seen the presentation,
Yeah.
but not also the recommendation would be also to do the presentation.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
dialogue.
In open or?
Chair, through to the committee, similar to Manager Bohan explaining that there was a deadline with the previous item before Q1. We are in the same position with regard to this one. And so although it's not the recommended option, if you move forward, there are two options here that meet the intent of the resolution. And so just to be aware that if it doesn't go before council, we may just need some extension. And this is highlighted too at the admin committee. If we do move forward and you choose a recommended option, then we're going to need more time than the end of Q1 to get this completed.
So I think that's a dilemma we ran into with the, like you said, with the other one. And I think we're gonna keep on running into this. So if we need to figure out how to navigate it with pausing all existing motion and all of that. I think there's an opportunity for you to do the presentation. And then we had a conversation earlier around how much it's gonna cost. I think that would be a deal breaker for this council, just expect, because that's exactly what we're looking at. So if, I don't know if we can get some numbers around that, just even brought to council as we push this forward to the next council meeting. But I think some numbers around that would help the decision making, because that's something that I know this council is quite concerned about. So yeah, so I don't know, do we need to make motions to do that, or just something that?
So again, this would be, this would be, the intent here is to have this before council on March 16th. So
Yeah.
council can either, or committee can basically make a recommendation to consider this, or a committee can make a recommendation or propose a motion that, or make a motion that postpones this, or are you thinking you'd like as part of the presentation on March 16th that we bring a little more information on the cost and impact to actually implementing this?
I mean, you guys commented, in my mind is that the cost and the impact be added to this and this presented to council, and they make a decision based on your recommendation. But it's just that right now, I can tell you, present this in the next meeting, they will ask you how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
And then we have to go back again. So I would recommend we have the cost, attach it to this presentation, present it to council, and then they decide based on your full motions that you have there or recommendations. Okay. Yeah.
I can do that.
Acting City Manager, are you good?
Okay, thank you.
I did just have one question, just for clarity. We won't have detailed information on costs, but we can probably get a little more general numbers and put that as part of we can add that.
I think it's fine.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
is Monday? Okay.
Yeah.
I have to have to say, Clark, but-
And agenda review committee can decide to this. They might decide this is not a priority to them. All right, so airport discussion, item number 5.
Thank you, Councilman, or Chair Mohammed. With your permission, I'm going to hand this over to Manager Boyd to comment for the record.
Right.
Yeah, as we know, WestJet made the unfortunate commercial decision to end service to and from the community. So as we know, that's going to have some impact, right, to our airport, to our residents, to our businesses, to people who visit the region. We're really disappointed, by that decision. We're going to be really busy in the next weeks and months exploring every alternative to replace that service. So we understand their last flight is going to be June 24th. Do want to present some caution. A lot of times it can take a while to replace our service, given the lead times associated with airline attraction, also with inauguration of a new service. And I really want to impress it to the public that there is demand for air service in Medicine. We are an established air service market for over 50 years. Our 60-kilometer catchment area generates 379,000 trips a year. And through our recent public engagement, that really resonated that people care about air service here and want that in their community, right? To add to their quality of life, to do business, things like that. So our priority going forward is to find the right carrier to provide the right service to meet the needs and the demand of the Medicine market.
Any comments, questions?
Are we, through the chair, are we at risk of losing any government funding? Obviously, government funding comes in at the start of the year or whenever their quarter is. So are we at risk of losing any funding in the interim or before the end of 2026?
Potentially. So there's a federal capital infrastructure and heavy equipment grant program, which the city is currently eligible to draw from because we have scheduled air service. So if we lose scheduled air service for more than a full year, then our eligibility is withdrawn. So we are still assessing the financial impacts of the loss of air service, but generally that'll be an impact on the capital side, as well as increasing the obvious operating deficit, revenues and expenses.
Any other questions? I'd have to say, I mean, like, really appreciated the airport tour you gave us earlier, what is it, January? And yeah, I don't know, I think about them like, we have some amazing infrastructure out there. And I think that right now that there's an opportunity for, other carriers in the market, take a look at Medicine Hat. Is there anything else that council can do to continue to support this next phase of what we're going to do here?
Yeah, through chair, and just, to layer on that, you're absolutely right with the player exiting our market, a big player in the airline industry, that presents an opportunity for someone else. We've already had conversations with other carriers so far, lots of interest and curiosity, and we're going to continue that. As far as what council can do, just support us in our efforts to do airline attraction and to advocate for that better air service. We understand that different levels of government are interested in supporting air service to regional communities, so we ask that you can help us out in those conversations with different levels of government if you choose to.
Okay, thank you. And to add to that, I mean, now this is something that is out in the market, right? So what can community do? Because it will help to hear. Is there anything that the community, because I mean, this has a major impact on economic development, a few other things. And I always like to think about it that this is not the only responsibility of, the municipality, of governments. I mean, businesses play a huge role in advancing economic activity in the region. So I don't know if you have any comment around, how can community support to make sure that this process also.
Yeah, through the chair. What I'll say about that is, we're very close with our partners in the region, and that's helped with a lot of initiatives we've had going on recently. So, working with our tourism partners, our Chamber of Commerce, our other regional economic development agencies, we know that air service is very important to them. And with respect to the public, it's the same thing. We just did our public engagement that wrapped up in January. Little preview, 750 responses, and 96% of those responses came back saying that air service was moderately or very important to them. So that doesn't change as a result of the loss of air service. It's still something that our members of the region want to see occurring at the airport. And it's just one of the things that occur at the airport, right? We have other services that provide value to the region, but that air service piece is scheduled air service piece is a very important component for our airport, for our region, for the businesses here, for the residents.
Well, thank you. Thank you for patient, and thank you to your team. I know that when we went up there, I walk away going, you know what, we have one of the best team and infrastructure in town. You operate that so well. And so send the message to them. These are not easy times for, a crew that has worked so hard to make sure that, we're up and running. So we're hoping that this will be very short and that we'll get back to business. So thank you very much.
Through the chair, thank you. I'll pass that along to staff.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll keep moving to development infrastructure, to the capital projects, the one-time operating projects, policies, bylaws, what's the list of outstanding motions. So this is a mouthful. Over to you, Managing Director Wuhan.
Thank you, Chair Mohammed. Yes, this initiative, this was spawned here at Development Infrastructure, and it actually expanded to all the divisions and departments within the city. On page 67 of your package, there are a listing of the development infrastructure projects and one-time operating initiatives. These basically, some of these date back to 2017, and some show completion in Q4 2025, because that's when you asked us to take a look at it. You'll see the forecasted completion date of on the far right-hand column. So these are the ones that the 2026 ones are the ones that we're going to get done this year. We've got Director Garland here, as well as Acting Director Freak. So if you've got any questions, or did you want to highlight any of the projects on this list for us to go through with you in more detail?
Councilor Pfaff, go ahead.
So not necessarily pulling out a project, but I noticed you guys separated based on year, essentially, and for municipal works, and this one is not as it's this question that I'm going to ask is not as specific to you guys, and more I noticed in like the Parks and Rec division, but the it was separated by years of a project, so it's hard to tell what's what. It's just one big number. So is there, I guess my question is, do you have a list of dollars per project? That's my question. And if yes, then.
Yeah. So when we first took a look at it, we were kind of trying to see what does this disruption look like for the community. So we can absolutely this is a pivot table. We can pull this together for you really quickly to take a look at specific projects. I will give you a and we can actually pull that back for you for sure. If
Okay,
that's where you'd like to dice the numbers, we'd happily do that.
It's just easier to,
Yeah.
for my head, it's easier to
So-
see it.
When Councillor, or sorry, Chair Mohammed, so what we do is, when we go to bring our budget request forward to council, we do business cases for the growth capital projects. We don't generally do those for the sustaining ones. Those are that's how we maintain our pipes and maintain our roads. So that might be road rehab, it might be potholing and crack sealing, that sort of thing. But we do have business cases for some of the larger growth capital projects that might be helpful as well. So, but I'll tell you what we'll do. For the next D&I committee meeting, we will have the total project, the total project itself. Now, I will caution you though, that we do break these out into segments. So 3rd Street downtown, for example, we completed the first portion of that with the road rehab and the water and sewer pipe. So we're actually going to the next phase in 2027 where we actually go to do that. So that's why we might have multiple years of these projects. But we can bring you a more itemized project list or the business case that we used for those projects. Sorry.
City Manager Hammer.
Through the chair, having said that, I think if there is desire for a description on some of the sustaining capital items, we could probably provide a description as well. I think it would be a stretch to provide one for each of them, but if you had a question regarding one,
Yeah.
wanted to know a little bit more about a handful of them, be happy to put together a description for those.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I don't want to just make a request willy-nilly and then it ends up being like a ton of work for you guys. So that's not my goal or purpose, but just breaking it down by project, it wouldn't necessarily, whatever's a reasonable amount of work, I guess, that could still be broken down based on that would be nice. And then you mentioned that the sustaining projects generally you don't do it by project, you do it. So my question is, how do you decide? Is it just based on last year's number, you're going to get X dollars for repaving roads this year, and then you guys decide what roads need it the most? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, and that's generally how it works, and we apply the treatment. Or the list changes year to year because we get these what they call blowouts. So when we have a heavy frost heave, we've had crazy, last 2 months. In February we were record highs temperature, that thaws ground, then we go back into the deep freeze, that causes the road to undulate and change. So yeah, that's part of it. That's generally, we have a pretty good idea of which roads in particular that we can rehab through a mill and overlay process. And then the ones where we have full rehab, which is the replace, those we know. And those are the ones you're going to see on the big ticket ones like the 3rd Street North or Division Avenue, that kind of thing. With your permission, Chair Mohammed, Director Garland had a comment, with your permission.
Yeah, go ahead, Director.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on that ask. So for water and sewer, for example, and it kind of rolls into my presentation that's coming up here. We have an asset management program, so there's kind of one big pot that it feeds multiple projects. So it could get fairly complicated when we're trying to show you Third Street. A piece of that will come out of this program and a little bit out of that program.
Okay.
A little bit out of his program. So it's fed by a lot of different places. So it could get very confusing very quick. So that's all I would caution on that one. But we can certainly the types of things that are in those programs and in my presentation.
And maybe I could follow up with interim city manager Hutter, just as far as, like I say, I prefer to be per project dollars, but also I don't want you guys spending like a lot of effort on this either, because I realize you have work that you're already doing. So maybe I'll just follow up with him about it.
Chair Mohammed, if I can address that, is there a dollar amount that, like, we've got everything on here, right? From, it looks like $38,000. Is there a dollar amount that you would like, or like maybe just, I'm just trying to think, how can we compress that a little bit so we can get you what you want?
That's a good question. I don't have one off the top of my head, but I can follow up with the city manager and then
Perfect.
work with him.
I think you just wanted to comment on that. Maybe it's something that we can talk about and see if, you know, there's a certain amount of dollar, right? Like, and that's something that, you know, it's kind of like, what level of much reality do we pay attention to, right? So there's maybe we can talk about that for this committee and say if a project reaches this amount of dollar, we would want to have a discussion on it type of thing. But maybe we can talk and see.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, I just have one question. Do you have any question? I want to go last. Good. Okay. I just have one question around the, you know, the way we structure how we do project prioritization. Not like I've seen it somewhere in my readings, but a lot of materials have been flying lately. But I just wonder if we have, just something that's clear, simple. Again, it's good for public engagement moving forward. Just so you know why this project's prioritized over the others. And I don't know if we have something somewhere. I felt like I've read something somewhere, but maybe we don't. I'll let you comment on that if we do have it.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Mohammed. Actually, we have a robust asset management program. And as Director Garland pointed out, we actually have a bigger matrix that we go through to determine which pipes we will actually evaluate. We're contemplating an AI engine to help us understand whether over the last 4 years, have we picked the ones that AI would pick. So we're going to actually try and use some technology to help us pick better and be more accurate. But when it comes to water and sewer infrastructure, we've got it's a matrix that we go through to evaluate it. Every year the team meets and we sit at a table like this one and we argue and discuss, and our operations teams contribute to trying to decide, okay, which pipes are the ones that are most at risk and which ones, or our treatment plants as well, right? On the, we have a similar type of process we have on our roads network. So I think that active transportation list that you saw with on the previous item, that actually tells you by priority, those are the priority lists. So that says these are the ones that we've prioritized. And usually it goes by which are the worst condition, where there's possibility there are no sidewalks in a certain area. So condition, whether there's something that needs to be built. We did one on First Street North, South this last year, as an example. We did some in the hospital area as well. Director Parikh, did you want to comment a little bit on roads?
Just on the road side, what we have a system called Road Matrix. So basically there's a consultant we hire. They go out and monitor all the roads. And the city is divided into 3 sections, like we do 1 year every year. And based on the condition of the road, we prioritize in terms of what kind of treatment, as managing director said, what kind of treatment it needs. It can be an overlay, a crack sealing, a fully rehab. And then based on the budget, we kind of see what is the top priority. And that's how we kind of identify which road needs what kind of treatment and which like depending on the road classification, there are various things that go into that matrix to kind of finally come up with projects. So that inspection is the major part that we look at for roads. And similarly for storm pipe system, again, the inspection is the most critical. So once we know what is where and what's the condition, based on condition, we can then sort of prioritize that in the similar way.
So any questions? Thank you. And one of the reasons why I asked that question is I think even as we consider moving forward with some of our conversation around public consultation, public engagement, and even just the last discussion, we have on certain sidewalks. So, why are we doing other sidewalks over other sidewalks? You know what I mean? So I'm not saying, I don't want to create like complex work for us, but I think those are the questions that we're getting asked in community. Like, why is there so much problems in this area and the city has not done this and we don't have a sidewalk. So we can have an ongoing conversation that how do we engage the public? How do we communicate that this is why we're doing this over this, or some kind of a high level rationality for the public to engage with? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Mohammed. I agree. And I think we're going to be spending a lot more time talking about the why behind our plans, why we do things and why we. So that's going to become a big focus on as we go forward.
Okay, any questions around the list? Okay, we'll move on to water infrastructure.
Thank you, Chair Mohammed. I have to tell you, I am very excited to actually share this one. And it sounds like I'm taking credit for something I didn't do, and I had nothing to do with this. This is actually work that was initiated by our environmental utilities team, and they were responding to a request from last committee about the condition of certain pipes on the north on 3rd Street. Something I mentioned earlier about having a robust asset management system. We use GIS to track all of our assets underground. So when we put a new pipe in, it's shot with GIS coordinates. When we go and repair a pipe, we put that data into our asset management system, into CityWorks, as a matter of fact. So we can produce a lot of graphical information. So maps is one way for people to see. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Director Garland to show you a little bit of what's coming. Now, this is not an in-house. Currently, it's in-house. We're working on trying to create a public view of this in conjunction with this and some other initiatives. With no further ado, Director Garland.
Thank you. And through the chair, with me today, I want to introduce Kim Dalton. He's our Associate Director for Environmental Utilities. So he oversees the engineering team and a lot of our infrastructure work as well. Pam Reed, who's our engineering tech. I brought her here to drive this because I don't know how to work it quite yet. So we have a brief demonstration on a very interesting open data portal tool that Pam's been working with alongside our corporate GIS team as well. There's several other departments that are doing the same thing. So this will allow a nice window for council and the public into viewing readily available information about our infrastructure. So just bear with us today. It's still a draft format as our teams are working through and creating its functionality. But as Pam plays with that, I thought this tool would be very insightful and help answer some of councilors' questions in the topic just before this. So specifically regarding the state of the infrastructure for the upcoming 3rd Street Northeast project. A little bit of background for environmental utilities. The department's had a robust asset management program for decades, and we've been very fortunate to have had councils that have had funded these programs proactively replacing aging infrastructure. I can say this, I've worked in a few municipalities and I've talked to lots of others. Not all municipalities are as fortunate. They don't have a proactive asset management plan like we do here. Often many of them operate a run to failure method, so they don't replace things until they've actually had major problems. So I want to thank past councils and to current council for considering upcoming budget cycles. One of the traditional and easiest indicators on underground infrastructure replacement is age, obviously. So typically the older stuff gets, the more likely it can fail, but that's not the only factor. as the city of Calgary realized. There's several other factors that contribute to capital replacement projects, which I'll get into a little bit, but in respect of time, I'll just scratch the surface today. So I'm just going to focus on water. So I'll certainly leave some time at the end to ask any questions you have if you want to talk sewer or anything else. But so on the portal, you can see up the pipes shown in the older neighborhoods of the city. I'll ask Pam to go to that. They're primarily made up of cast iron pipes or some iron-based materials that were industry standard material 50 to 100 years ago. And as we know today, these corrode over time, which can cause water quality concerns as they corrode, which creates sediment buildup. Eventually, we experience leaks and pipe failures as well. Then you move on in time, you can see there's various concrete-based pipe materials which came into use 25 to 50 years ago. These pipes are very good pipes, and they don't degrade like the iron pipes nor cause the water quality concerns. However, these pipes are more challenging to work with. They're sensitive to ground shifts, and ground disturbance can create pipe failures. Which brings us to the modern stuff, which is fortunately our biggest inventory in our system, which is primarily PVC or plastic-based material. And it's been used for a little over 25 years now. I think the late 70s it came into effect. And it's very robust and reliable and considered industry standard now. Some of the other direct factors that help determine a capital project, which could be driven by water pipe replacement or water quality concerns. Like I said, we can also address a lot of those through maintenance programs, so increased frequency of hydrant flushing. We also use water main breaks. We've had a lot of breaks in the area. That'll contribute to our matrix, as Pat mentioned, on how we prioritize our pipes for replacement and the criticality of the pipe in the broader system. So those key points of failure, if it will affect a large neighborhood, then we rank those a little bit higher. As well, other ranking criteria, considering other utilities. As Pat mentioned earlier, we're doing a much better job of working with our teammates and other utilities and ourselves. So even though sanitary sewer is under our realm, sometimes that's the trigger that creates the water pipe replacement. While we're in there, we want to replace everything we can. So it's a big cost to dig up the roads. What else was I going to say? So yeah, we collaborate with sanitary, storm, sewer, gas, electric, parks, and of course, roadway conditions. Often water or sewer were the deepest, so it's a driver behind the primary reason of capital project, but it's not always the case. So getting back to Councillor Pfaff's direct question about 3rd Street Northeast, this project was actually driven by the guy next to me here in Municipal Works. The roadway down there has actually reached its end of useful life and requires a full rehab. So the EU water sewer infrastructure is older pipe, but hasn't experienced too many failures to date. And we've been able to manage the water quality and the sewer conveyance through our maintenance programs. So it's not too bad, but given our team's evaluations, we didn't feel that this infrastructure would last another 30 years. So we don't want to dig up a nice new road and do that. So decision was made. We work with the other utilities, and basically that's what formed the basis of doing a big project down there. So that kind of concludes the initial description. Pam showing you how we can kind of show the different pipe types through the portal there, and lots of other things are going to show up on here. She's got another one that's for sewer, but it's not all complete yet, but it's really exciting. And I know Director Bohan, this is his favorite stuff, so I had to bring that today just to make his day. So open any questions you have for me or Kim or the rest of the team.
Councillor Pfaff?
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one is, did you guys design this in-house? Wow,
That's
excellent.
impressive.
We're so lucky to have Pam on our team. She's a wizard.
Chair Mohammed, if I could just comment on
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
This is, Pam has basically designed the interface. The actual underlying software is all GIS based as part of CityWorks. So it's really our GIS, the investment that the city's made in our GIS infrastructure. There's other things that are coming, but as Director Garland pointed out, Pam has done she really captures a lot of what the public might like to see. And for instance, if you see the bars on the left on the bottom there, when Pam clicks on those just represent the different types of pipe that we've got in the ground. So if you click on that next bar, you'll see the map change.
Wow.
And that just shows you which ones are asbestos concrete, which ones are steel, which ones are clay or whatever. So, and then the data on the top tells you how many meters pipe we got. I think
That is amazing. Yeah, that's where the.
I think that's the first time I've been at any
We
community.
we have all kinds of maintenance records and stuff in the background. Well, especially sewer, we do lots of inspections of sewer. We have our own cammering team and we can see the inside of things. Water's a little more challenging, but the technology's getting pretty good now, so we're starting to wade into that.
Cool.
That was actually my next question, sort of.
Yeah.
So I realized just exactly what you said, that sewer would be easier than water, but, do you have any kind of like engineering reports or anything like that for the older ones? Is it at all possible, or I realize it's very difficult?
Through the chair, we have our own engineering department at the city, so in conjunction with our operations teams, usually once we start seeing concerns in neighborhoods, we do a more deep dive. So for example, for Third Street in Riverside, that's kind of where it started. We thought pipes are pretty good, so we started doing an inspection. We were just going to change the valves as part of this project initially. We thought, well, we'd better take a closer look. We hydrovac some spots and realized, oh, it doesn't look that great on the surface. So we do a deeper dive and we get our operations teams to start going in and taking a closer look. So some of the other ones we're starting to look at potentially getting cameras and some of the bigger lines through there and analyzing how thick the wall thicknesses and stuff like that are. So could we hire externals to take a look? We certainly could. We're trying to maximize our in-house resources. We got a great team like several engineers in our department, and Associate Director Dalton has done a great job since he's been here to try to maximize our horsepower that we have.
Right. And I wasn't necessarily suggesting to have an external contractor, but just that if there was, I guess, just a report done, say, if you could hydrovac down on certain areas and then take a look at them, or when you're repairing, I guess that would be when you would do it.
And
because otherwise you can't really, unless you use LiDAR, I guess.
And
I wouldn't.
to do a report on the whole system, it's pretty large.
And constantly changing.
Yeah.
That's something you mentioned, Director.
Thank you, Chair Mohammed. Actually, to Councillor Pfaff, we are one of the byproducts of having this GIS system is that it has information, the best information that we can get, essentially. I know you were asking about engineering reports, but we know pretty much the age of the pipe and I think this dashboard really shows that, but there's other ways for us to identify. You could actually track using the same map how old the pipe is, because as Associate Director Dalton mentioned, there'll be sections on Third Street, for example, that some are from 1949, and then you go to the next section and it's PVC and it was done in 1982, and then you go to the next one and it's 1912, and so it's a bit of a Franken system that way. But our GIS system, and there's an initiative coming soon that will allow the public, and through some of it can go through this dashboard that Pam's produced just for EU, but ultimately the Pam is she's the guru that's actually contributing to that bigger project as well. So it's a very sensitive. I see Pam struggling to get this map to work. But
that's awesome. That's a good start, Councillor Renish.
Pam.
Yeah.
Is there a timeline by which, sorry, through the chair, Pam, is there a timeline by which the public can utilize your hard work and great efforts?
Well, it's tied to the open data source, and I believe that's coming live fairly soon.
I can address that it's a little bit. So we started an initiative to try and evaluate whether what we can make public. And so we've got a bit of an initiative. We've set some arbitrary dates that are forthcoming. It's very new, where we want to make sure we get the disclosure and disclaimers right. That's one of the barriers. What we don't want is people to get the wrong idea about the information. So for instance, if we make available, you can see there's locations of those pipes, like maps. People can't use that instead of getting a locate that through, call before you dig. So we want to make sure we get that right. But it's a real commitment that the whole city is making to evaluate what can we make public and when. And that's we're hoping for Q2.
Okay. No, this is exciting. Thank you for your hard work. And I'm looking, there's a dollar amount there. Sorry, I missed that comment. What's the dollar amount? Oh, no, not a dollar amount, sorry.
Fire hydrants.
Okay, that's what, it's a lot of fun.
It's like a dollar.
Okay, talking about dollar, maybe my mind is kind of going on my bias question that I have. So this is an amazing, asset management system that I see being developed here. Is there an opportunity for depreciation expense and I don't know, do we have that? Is there an opportunity to add some kind of, I know it's a big.
Yeah, it is a bigger question. It's probably better directed toward our corporate services department, but ultimately we run our water, sewer, solid waste like a business. It's essentially, it's a little different than a regular corporation, but we do operate it. We don't deal with, we would essentially manage to the EBITDA line in the corporate world. Right. So depreciation is, amortization is an issue.
Yeah. So I think again, this is something I was thinking more towards what do you call it? Equipment replacement, all of that, the cost, and that's the conversation that we sort of have. So I don't know, I'm just looking at a really good technology and and the skill that we have on the team, and my mind is going even to what we call it, acting city manager, Hunter, if there is an opportunity sometimes with this kind of innovation to actually support others aspect of the city, just because I think this is incredible. So kudos to the team for the innovation. And I like to say that, if there is a way that we can continue to celebrate this kind of stuff and bring it forward, and DNI, I want us to create a platform for this kind of conversations in this meeting. So maybe even an agenda item, encourage your team staff with this kind of innovation. Let's celebrate it here. And I just want to say thank you so much for your hard work, because people
we actually, this open data initiative that we're talking about actually is across city. So it's actually one of the biggest spark plugs for that is our Parks Department. So they're going to have inventory of trees, location, who owns it. They're going to have all of those park benches. Basically, we use this GIS information, and it's a very low cost. It's very low cost for us to make this data available. We just, and I don't want to overstate that we've just been doing this for a long time. So most of our city departments that have collected GIS data, that's going to be available on the platform. I should also point out that we do have a enterprise-wide asset management program that's that has those enterprise requirements, and that's being led by our corporate services department. So Director Hoagland, I think, has done a good job of putting in place the cross city asset management principles. Some are more sophisticated. I think EU is a good example of where we've got really sophisticated long-term use. We made a big bet on CityWorks for both some of our workflow as well as how we present this information, but other departments also use CityWorks, and that matrix that's being developed by our corporate services team and Hoagland it is really going to give some framework for all city departments to follow.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We'll keep moving. We get a few minutes here. Some of us have another meeting right after this,
Okay.
so we have action item list.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Mohammed. So item number one, the offsite levy bylaw, we are continuing to develop the offsite levy bylaw, and a request for decision will be forthcoming this year to confirm council's direction. So we'll have more of that, more to come on that one. We are working directly with a working group in the community to make sure that we're getting as much of it right as we can. The unsightly property bylaw update. So that was brought forward as a potential request for decision for a budget amendment. We're contemplating something a little different, as opposed to having a pool of money that we may or may not draw from, that we're contemplating an alternative to budgeting that process and treat it a little differently. There won't be a lot. So more to come in our 2027-2028 budget. So you're going to see more information on that as it progresses. And again, we want to make sure if we're spending the taxpayer money that we know what we're spending it on, and it's very specific. Mustard seed, we continue to wait for an application. Item number 4, the Heron Cross and Canyon Creek is going to council on March the 16th. The economic development update, I believe that's coming next quarter. I don't have that on my next meeting. Okay, and that concludes our outstanding items.
Great. Any questions, council? Well, yeah, if there's nothing else, I just wanted to say thank you. We had another great meeting, I think, and thanks to the team. Again, you're a department that have a lot of pressure and a lot of community interest, so wanted to encourage you to keep going. I think we're moving in the right direction. You're responding to the community very well, and this council is really, eager to work together with you to just make sure that we serve community well. And so thank you so much for your cooperation, and send the message to all your teams. And thank you for just a great meeting. And also, any right, well, can I get a motion to adjourn? So Renish and so Foster, thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, well, that was it.
Yeah, we got locked in.
Yeah. Chuck me that. Thanks.